This is the Sicilian defense. So the Sicilian defense is one of the major kind of answers to white pawn to e4, because what happens is that black will then take control of the d4 square with the pawn from the other side, and this imbalances the board and avoids giving white a central target. So some of the pros is that it unbalances the game for white and it gives black a good chance of attack. But some of the cons are that white has many ways to meet the Sicilian defense, and in the main variations of the Sicilian defense, white gets great attacking chances. However, there are many variations of the Sicilian defense that can be used to prevent white from advancing many of the pieces. The French defense is another great opening because it meets the pawn to e4 with pawn to e6 and preparing to counter the e4 pawn with d5. So watch. And by doing this, black can block the light squared bishop, but gains a solid pawn chain and counterattacking possibilities. So the French defense is named after an 1834 correspondence game between the cities of London and Paris in which the French defense was utilized. Some of the pros of the French defense is that it is a sound structure, or it can make like a sound structure, and you have many counterattacking opportunities, and it's a pretty original defense and many people play it. But some of the cons of the French defense is that black has a space disadvantage, and light squared bishop is locked in, and it can be pretty passive sometimes. It isn't a very aggressive opening. The Ruy Lopez opening, also called the Spanish game, is one of the most popular openings in chess. So it starts with pawn, and then black counters with that, and then white to there. So this is one of the most popular openings because it is actually named after the 16th century Spanish priest Ruy Lopez de Segura. And some of the pros of the Ruy Lopez opening is that it leads to very complex and multifaceted play. So you have a lot of opportunities for good play. And it also tends to give white a long-term pressure. And white develops rapidly and castles quickly. So that's also a good opportunity to play safe. However, some of the cons of the Ruy Lopez opening is that black has a huge number of defenses to choose from, and sometimes black gets a chance to later attack the light squared bishop, which isn't a good thing. The Caro-Kann defense was named after Horatio Caro and Marcus Kahn, who first analyzed it and kind of created it back in 1866. So what it is that pawn to e4 and then that pawn to there. So some of the pros of this defense is that it's kind of like a sound pawn structure, and free light squared bishops are safe. And some of the cons, however, is that there's less space for black and slower development, and it's kind of like a less complicated game. Everything's pretty simple. The final defense, that is some of my favorites, are the King's Gambit. And the King's Gambit is an opening that was loved by kind of romantics. So white sacrifices the f-pawn, like that, to knock out black's central e5 pawn. And ideally, white would like to take over the center and gain the pawn on f4. However, there are some variations of it. And some pros of the King's Gambit is that it's a very exciting opening, and white goes for the initiative. It's pretty unusual too, not many people play it, but it is a very strong opening. Some of the cons, however, is that black has many different options to choose from. You can either take the piece or not take the piece and advance either knight or another pawn. And white kings can be exposed, which is also not a good thing.